It's NBC 26 at 10. A Walgreens is robbed in Green Bay. Police still looking for the suspect. And Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg heads to Capitol Hill this week as lawmakers demand answers. And an inspirational student crowned as prom king at Denmark High School. But first, we begin in Humboldt, Saskatchewan, where the town is mourning after losing members of their community who were killed in a bus crash. NBC's Ron Mott reports.
On this Sunday in Humboldt, Mass celebrated.
A moment of silence.
A devastated community at once grateful and grieving. The Broncos are more than just the hometown team to root for. The bond is much deeper by necessity in this small town where host families become home away from home.
It's not just that they are our hockey team that we go and watch and cheer and love, but you know, they're pillars in the community as well.
At today's pancake breakfast, some managed smiles, a fundraiser for the team, adding to a GoFundMe effort nearing its $4 million goal.
So this is a personal loss for just about everyone in Humboldt.
Pretty well, for the whole community, yes.
Help is abundant. Some may say it's the Canadian way, a 3-hour wait to give blood.
Just do what you can to help out the hockey community.
The sudden deaths on an ill-fated bus trip Friday have touched hearts far and wide. NHL teams honored them throughout the league, a moment of silence in Philadelphia. Chicago and Winnipeg players taking on their name. Humboldt's mayor thrust into the role of consoler-in-chief.
It's going to take some work, some support from not only the community but from elsewhere to get through this.
A day of prayer concludes tonight with a vigil at the arena where the Broncos play. Hockey, as always, bringing people here together. Ron Mott, NBC News, Humboldt, Saskatchewan.
And some local news now. Green Bay police say they're looking for a man who they say robbed a Walgreens this morning. They say it happened just after 1 a.m. at the Walgreens on 1401 East Mason Street. They say he pulled out a weapon and demanded cash. He then took off with that cash. Please contact the police department if you do have any more information. And officials in Manitowoc say 3 animals are dead from a house fire last night. They say it happened just after 9:30 at the 800 block of Redfin Court. The fire was inside the kitchen. Authorities say 2 dogs and a cat died. A mother and 2 kids also escaped a house fire in Oconto this morning. Authorities say it happened on 109 Huron Avenue after midnight. Officials say smoke was coming from the front porch, and they say it took 38 firefighters to put it out. The cause still under investigation. Well, the sun is shining, but it's still cold outside. Let's check in with meteorologist Gino Recchia. Gino.
Yeah, Mo, at least we're getting towards the right direction. Temperatures today were a little bit warmer than yesterday, as much as about 5 to 10 degrees or so. Yesterday, we barely even struggled to even near that freezing mark. For today, most of us did reach above that freezing. But in terms of averages, we are still below it. Our average high should be 50 degrees this time of year. Record 71 degrees for today. And this record of 13 degrees was broken this morning. We had a morning low of 9 degrees. We'll cool down into the mid-20s tonight, going back into the upper 30s tomorrow. Looks like a gradual warm-up in that forecast. I'll have that in just a few minutes.
All right, Gino, thank you. And also, Winnebago County's outdoor warning sirens will be tested every Saturday at noon through September 2018. The test will be canceled, though, if severe weather or other serious conditions are a problem. And covering the world now, a suspected poison gas attack near the Syrian capital has reportedly killed at least 40 people. Reports say the attack happened late yesterday. First responders say entire families were found suffocating in homes. Syria, though, denies ever using chemical weapons during the 7-year civil war, instead eliminated its chemical arsenal back in 2013. Members from a caravan of Central American migrants are protesting at the U.S. Embassy in Mexico. The protesters call for justice for migrants. This comes as President Trump doubles down his stance on illegal immigration. Reports say it has rallied against people making their way from the Guatemala-Mexico border. Many are also from Honduras, where poverty and gang violence is a problem. And officials have moved a van that crashed into a crowd in West Germany yesterday. The crash killed 2 people and injured 20 others. Police said the driver of the vehicle shot and killed himself later. A top German security official said there was no indication of any Islamic extremist motive, but officials were investigating all possibilities. And covering America Now, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg is headed to Capitol Hill this week as lawmakers are demanding answers. This comes after a firm with ties to Trump campaign mishandled data from millions of users. David Daniel has more.
Facebook testifies in Congress regularly on a number of topics, some high profile and some not.
Mark Zuckerberg will go under oath, testifying before Congress amid the fallout from the Cambridge Analytica scandal. On Sunday, one lawmaker outlined what he wants answered.
But we do have two major problems we've discovered. One is the privacy issue, and the other is the propagandist issue. Now, Facebook needs to talk with us, frankly, about how we can fix that.
Zuckerberg will answer questions about the privacy issues this week. He'll appear before the Senate, Judiciary, and Commerce committees on Tuesday. The House Energy and Commerce Committee will hear from him on Wednesday. Facebook admits that personal data was harvested by Cambridge Analytica, a data firm with ties to the Trump campaign. But Christopher Wiley, the firm's former director of research turned whistleblower, can't say how the data was used.
In terms of did Donald Trump use this data, I think that's a good question to ask Cambridge Analytica and the Trump campaign.
Facebook says Cambridge Analytica accessed the data of 87 million users, but Wiley warns that number could rise.
Do you think that's still possible, that number is much higher?
I think that it could be higher. Absolutely.
Zuckerberg says Facebook is taking steps to protect user data. Congress wants answers on how this happened in the first place and how it will be prevented in the future. I'm David Daniel reporting.
And an update to that fire at Trump Tower yesterday that officials say took at least one life. Police identified him as Todd Brasner, who lived in the building. Fire officials say 6 crew members were hurt, but their injuries are not life-threatening. But firefighters say none of the members of the Trump family were there during the fire. And survivors of the mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School still staying strong in the fight for gun control. More than 130 communities nationwide are doing March for Our Lives town hall meetings. As shooting survivor David Hogg sent out a tweet last month asking people to plan town halls with their lawmakers. And students and some lawmakers say they're inspired to fight for gun law reform and say enough is enough.
The town hall isn't a new concept, but in the wake of all the recent tragedies and all of the events that have been going on, it's something so important. And as a student, I felt really touched by their speeches and by seeing all of this going on.
And another school walkout is planned for 10 a.m. on April 20th, the anniversary of the Columbine school shooting. And covering Wisconsin now, funeral plans are set for the local teens swept away in a riptide in Fort Morgan, Alabama last week. A memorial service will be held for 17-year-old Jevin Lemke on Monday night at 7 at Zion Evangelical Lutheran Church in the village of Wayside. And the Wire Whisk store in Appleton will be closing its doors. The gourmet kitchen store has been in Appleton since 1977 and moved to the Fox River Mall in 1988, where it operated for more than 18 years before moving to its current location. Owners say business slowed down because of online shopping and less people coming through the front door.
There's a sadness, an ongoing remarks about we're sorry to see you go, happy retirement. That's what I get most of the time from my customers.
And Malloy says the business was open for 41 years. The Green Bay Packers estimate more than 60,000 people have used the Titletown district since it opened up. The 45-acre district launched in late November, and officials say there will be events scheduled for the district this summer and winter. The harsh winter forced officials to close up some days when it first opened. And a new Wisconsin law says the state's nutrition curriculum for schools must be updated every 5 years. Wisconsin Public Radio reports many schools have updated that curriculum, but this new law updates a statute that hasn't been changed in more than 70 years. Higher crude oil prices means higher prices at the gas pump. According to the latest Lundberg survey, average price for regular went up 7.52 cents per gallon during the past couple of weeks. But thanks to a decline in oil prices, the price might climb stop. We're still ahead on NBC 26 at 10. A Diocese of Green Bay celebrates a major milestone. We'll have that and much more after the break. But first, what's that weather going to look like for the work week? Your forecasts up next.
And now, your NBC 26 Storm Shield forecast with meteorologist Gino Recchia.
Temperatures are now below the freezing mark at 29 degrees. We still have some calm weather ahead, but with winds out of the east and southeast, only 5 miles per hour, making the wind chill feel a couple degrees cooler. But at least that sunshine was out. We did have plenty of sun across the area, and that was some great news to enjoy that, because after all, it is the weekend. But now as we get towards the evening hours, we do have some high-level clouds that are passing through the area as a storm system is moving down to the south of us. But thankfully, those cloud cover is actually keeping our temperatures relatively mild right now in the upper 20s and lower 30s. 28 degrees in Manitowoc, 30 in Watoma, 27 up towards Mountain, 23 in Sister Bay. We got winds coming in right now out of the south and southeast between calm to as much as about 5 to 7 miles per hour. So not much of a wind chill factor out there. But this morning it was cold. And when I'm talking cold, it was below zero in Antigo, -9 degrees. There was an unofficial observation in the UP. They were in the -20s this morning, perhaps the coldest unofficial record low temperature for the UP of Michigan. But down to the south, we did see overnight low temperatures in the teens. Now for us in Green Bay, this morning's low temperature of 9 degrees, that does break a record for today. The old record was 13 degrees set back in 1972 and 1950. And also, this is the second coldest April temperature on record for Green Bay. In terms of what we're expecting for the rest of the evening and overnight, well, there is a system that's just to our neighboring west, but it is moving down to the southeast. So that's good news. If you don't want to take the shovels out, we don't need to. Maybe a few passing flurries for parts of Marquette, Green Lake, and even Fond du Lac counties, but a high pressure just to our neighboring east is going to keep the storm system down to the south, so no shoveling is required for this system. Winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings still remain in effect for parts of Minnesota, Iowa, and extreme western Illinois. They did see in parts of South Dakota into southern Wisconsin, or in southern Minnesota and northern Iowa, anywhere from about 6 to as much as 8 inches of snowfall. But for us, we're going to just see some residual cloud cover from the storm system that moves down to the southwest of us. You see by the morning hours, maybe a few passing flurries towards Berlin, Fond du Lac, Sheboygan, temperatures in the mid and upper 20s. Then we get into the afternoon hours tomorrow, rising up into the upper 30s and lower 40s. But as the storm starts to depart with some cool air starting to fill in behind it, maybe a few passing flurries during the afternoon hours, but no shoveling required. It really won't accumulate to anything. For tonight, maybe a few flurries down to the south, but the rest of us should be staying quiet. Overnight lows in the lower 20s. For tomorrow, rising up into the upper 30s. Winds out of the west and northwest 5 miles per hour. Could maybe see an isolated rain or snow shower mix. If it's a snow shower or rain shower, very light. Then Tuesday, high of 41, rising up into the lower 50s on Wednesday. We do have a system coming here on Thursday. Carries over into Friday, even perhaps a chance of a wintry mix onto Saturday, high of 40, and behind it, back into the upper 30s on Sunday.
Tuesday, Wednesday is the only one that really feels like spring.
Right, exactly.
All right, take it while we can. Thank you so much, Gino. We're still out on NBC 26. He reigns supreme. Students at Denmark High School crowned an inspirational classmate as prom king. Hear his story and much more when we come back. Welcome back. Prom is a night cherished by many around the country, but in Denmark, one class decided they'd make the night truly unforgettable for their prom king. NBC 26's Max Grossfeld has their story.
Dances with friends, smiling pictures, and eagle-eyed chaperones can define prom.
Think back to your high school prom king entering the dance. Was it a popular kid, maybe a jock? Well, Denmark High School decided to buck that trend, instead giving one young man a night he will never forget.
He's the nicest kid ever.
Justin Melezova was born with autism, but he isn't letting that hold him back.
He's so polite and he just wants to be friends with everybody.
When it came time to vote for prom court, the students said they didn't have much to discuss.
It's just special for him, so we knew that our class is a good class and that he would definitely be part of the court.
But the students didn't know if he had won until prom night.
Your 2018 prom king is Justin Melezova.
I started bawling like a baby, but just extremely grateful to the kids in his class.
Making the night extra special is the election of Justin's queen.
And the Apollo is the queen, and I am the king, and I win.
Leah Kruvelitz has been providing support for Justin since elementary school and asked him to the dance.
It does take a village to raise a child, and I think it's just a great coming together.
Justin's mom, Kim, says she hopes his story will inspire other parents with children who have special needs.
Just advocate for them, fight for them, because, I mean, look at what happened to Justin tonight.
As Justin enjoys his victory lap,
boys and girls says congrats.
Few at this school will ever forget how Denmark High made this young man feel like a king. Keeping you connected in Denmark, Max Grossfeld, NBC 26.
Certainly a moment to remember, and here at NBC 26, we want to wish Justin Lee and the rest of the Denmark community a wholehearted congratulations. Well, a traveling exhibit about a piece of American history made its way to Northeast Wisconsin. It's called the Coney Island Visions of an American Dreamland. It opened up today at the Brown County Library Central Branch in Green Bay. Through the exhibit, artifacts will show how Coney Island evolved through history dating back all the way to the mid-1800s.
The name is probably known by everyone, even though we may not be real familiar with it. It's just a symbol of fun and adventure.
And it'll be at the library until May 25th. And the Diocese of Green Bay is celebrating its 150th anniversary. St. Francis Xavier Cathedral in Green Bay will host 12 celebrations through the Jubilee year, one for each month. Diocese leaders are proud of this accomplishment and are already looking towards the future.
It's really something to be grateful to God for and thankful to all the people that have been involved in the life of the church. And now we have a chance to get ready for the next 150 years by doing our part to pass the faith on to the next generation.
And the next celebration will be on Pentecost Sunday in May. Well, thanks for spending your Sunday night with me, but don't go anywhere. Sports Rewind with Kelly Price is next.